There's a lot of weird whooshing noises in this room. And then the rain, which Jody made happen. The rainmaker. And then it'll be like, you think like, okay, the air clicked on. It got hot briefly, or was that, it might have been me, but it got hot. I was next to Josh. He's hot, so it might have been that. And then the air actually clicked on. So the first thing, I don't know what that was the gas coming in. I'm reading from a very small book that I should have brought up so I could hold it up. It looks like that. It's white on white. Published by Novella, a small press that I adore. And this has no beginning, middle, and end. This is just what the language is. A little piece. This is not my jam. From the air, there is a sense of beauty. The landscape unfurling in all directions like a maze of interlocking shapes, the fractal depth of which is breathtaking in its ingenuity. We obey the same law that sees the fern curl in on itself in an infinity of ever smaller leaves. And so the cul-de-sacs feather into themselves, the gray roads curl, and the box-like similarity of roof after roof after roof, and the occasional brilliant blue rectangle of a pool like a precious gem set amongst the complexity of line and shape, like the details of a Tibetan sand painting. Everything clean and directed and possessed of an intelligence which is the intelligence of order set forth in the hearts of men and beasts, in the intellect of a fiddlehead, in the soul of the waters that make up what we are. I will give you the names, not because they supply the landscape with meaning, but because they do not. Cluster and glut, landfill and greenfield, duck and toad and strip, and here the wrought iron gate of the privatopia. Beyond the noise wall, the rush of freeway traffic continues unabated. Cover your ears, and the hiss and hum comes yet through the curvature of your skull. Single detached residential, low-density infill, residential small lot, and then shopping centers and low-intensity business and commercial mixed. Parking lots for budget hotels, then gas stations, fast food restaurants, manufactured housing aligned in rows the color of dirt. McDonald's from the sky, just the same as on the ground, a circus tent belching dark smoke into the concrete air. The zone of the highway corridor. 1,700 miles across that landscape in a line very nearly due west, 41st parallel north, the route of pioneers, of Greeley's young American men bent on self-improvement, of dreamers and vagabonds and fools. All interstate freeways run through such landscapes as these, endless arteries flowing in all possible directions. Some of them reach from Iowa City to Winnemucca to Golconda and on toward Eden Valley, and at least one of them reaches to you. Have you thought about what I said? What you said when? You know. Oh, yeah, I've thought about it a bit. And? And what? I'm kind of freaking out here, Frank. I don't want you to freak out. So? So what do you want me to say? Frank, she says, exhaling through the wind, you're going to have to give me more than that. Just this one time. This isn't like making a project. It's bigger than that. Well, it's sort of like making a project, he says. No. No? No. He shrugs. You can't just sit there, Frank. That's not going to work this time. Does it ever work? No, she says. There's a thin, harsh quality to her words, a thread of irritation. Around them, the landscape is flat and endless. More than 1,000 miles yet to go. 1,000 miles of nearly featureless landscape. That people have chosen this for their lives is something she simply cannot understand. You're going to be a dad, she says. I'm aware of that. Are you ready? No. Are you? No, she says. He looks at her now, and the action is profound and touching. You're not, he says. Of course I'm not. She continues to stare out into the distance somewhere. I didn't know that, he says. Why do you think I want to talk about it? I don't know why, he says. I thought you just wanted to talk about it. You talk, about things. That's what people do, Frank. He shifts his gaze back to the distance so that they are both staring out into the flat, empty plain of America. The stillness enters him again. He does not move, does not even shift his weight. He may be thinking about parenthood, or about the Eisenhower presidency, or Abraham Lincoln, or something else entirely. You need to get your head around it, she says. I mean, we both do. I will. I am. Are you? Yeah, I am. I just have to get this project done first. They drift into a space of silence now, the two of them and the whole of America, 41st parallel north. His hand reaches for her, a gesture almost without thought. She takes it, neither of them looking at the other, but connected, their fingers interlacing like the joined hands of teenagers. It doesn't really work like that, she says. Yes, it does, he says. Yes, it does. And then pastures and orchards and neighborhoods bumping against one another in abrupt and swirling lines, the circles of irrigated green fields and a black cul-de-sacs, houses, emptiness. Then another rounded curl of box houses leapfrogging across the fields like the tiny new fronds in the crozier of a fern. Caitlin behind the wheel, Frank beside her, periodically snapping a photograph with his Polaroid. The whir of the film ejecting. He sits waving it in the air in front of him, the light spinning through the car, her eyes on the road, unmoving, watching the land come at her, come at them both. There is nothing out there but the road and emptiness, boxes and bags, and loose clothes behind them stacked to the roof of the car. This is beautiful country, he says. But it is not beautiful country, not in any way she understands. Flat dirt and occasional farms. Were she to look over at him even for a moment, she would see that his eyes are not on that ever-unscrolling landscape. Instead, they are on her face, her eyes, her thin, closed mouth. How we wish she would simply glance over just for a moment to see how he looks at her. But there is only Caitlin in profile as farm country whips by the window, hair curling slowly in the wind, how it circles and circles her face through Nebraska and Wyoming, through Utah, how it circles as they drive into Nevada at last. Thank you.